Welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from the School Book. If you're watching me, that means it's Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Hold on, I got to do the quick conversion for Hawaii. If I'm at 7, then you're 2 p.m. in Hawaii. You're 11 hours ahead of us in Indonesia and 17 hours ahead of us in Australia. That should cover all the bases of the people that come on and say hi and everything else. So hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Thanks for popping in. You all know me. If you don't, my name's Tom Springer. If this is your first time here, hi, welcome. My show is called Stuff I Never Learned from the School Book, right up there. You can find it on a whole bunch of different places. I have on, hi, Jamie. She was on just not too long ago. I have on a very special guest today. I have kind of been really looking forward to her. I met her. I'll talk about that when we come in. But anyways, I am instantly going to jump in with this one, and I want to introduce Astara Raven. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm really good. I'm great.
So I want to tell everybody how we met, first off. I went to Mystic Fest here in Omaha, Nebraska, and I was wandering around all these wonderful booths of all these wonderful people. And I kept going back and forth by this one where there was these two ladies at. And for some reason, the energy that they had just kept pulling me that direction. And I finally just stopped and said hi. And first off, it was Kristen, because you were already talking to somebody. So I was talking to Kristen Peterson, who I happen to have on later on in a couple of weeks. And then you were done talking to the person you were discussing with, and then I was able to steal you as well. And that's how we met. And it was like an instant, for me, it was just like an instant bonding of, I need to talk to you. I need to figure out who you are. I need to know more about you. And I need you on my show. So it was kind of cool for me because that's a different, I have the energy when I walk around of who I want to talk to, who I may not want to, but for you two, it was really like, I need to run up and just take you by the hands and go, you two, I need you to come on and we need to meet and we need to be friends. So
here we are.
That's how it was for me. So I know you guys were really busy. Nikki's saying hi. It's my wife that was there with me. She said,
hi, Nikki.
So that was very interesting because that was the first time I've ever been to Mystic Fest. And a lot of the things I'm doing are kind of new for me, and able to get someone with you that is, to me, everything I've read about you is just amazing. And Orion's the same way. He's just amazing.
Yeah.
It made me more and more anxious to get to today's date so I can have you on my show. So anyways, everybody, I'm done talking. This is Astara over here to my side. And so introduce yourself.
Wait, I have to point this
way. I know, we have to point the opposite direction. I know, I got to do that too. Like, wait, this is like...
Okay. So dimensional bending. Yeah.
Right? And say hi.
Hi. Hello, everybody. I'm hello, Tom, Nikki. It's good to see you through chat texting. And yeah, Mystic Fest was fun. It was very busy, and it was great to meet you. That's actually how I met Christy, one of my colleagues and collaborators. Gosh, I think about 4 or 5 years ago. Anyway, it's been a chunk of years. And when we first met, I just walked right up to her and said, I don't know why, but we're supposed to know each other. Yeah. And now Orion and I are both producing and editing and directing her documentary for her book, We Are Not Alone, which is about her extraterrestrial contact. So I just left the editing room to come into this right now, and we're hoping to release that this fall, but it's all weaving together. You know, we show up divine timing, as they say, to exactly where we need to be to meet who we need to meet. And because I met Christy that many years ago, I said, hey, do you want to share a booth at Mystic Fest? And she said, yeah. And we do collaborate through what I call Sojourn, which is one of the offerings that's very innovative that I do with a whole bunch of healers, where we help a client together versus just one-on-one.
Right.
I believe that the future is relational, and it's a joint venture to create our healing reality. And so we have to collaborate more.
Yeah. I believe you said there's 10 of you. Is that correct?
No, there's, you are probably seeing the future. There's your abilities.
My bad.
Right now, there's 7 of us
Okay.
total, including Orion and I. So
Okay.
it's a magical group. And if anybody wants to, on the website, which you'll show later, once you go to
right now.
ta-da,
I'll show this like 5
when you
times
go,
tonight. So.
when you go to astararaven.love and you click on the offerings tab, you'll see some choices, and you just click on Sojourn, and then you can see the Soul Council, and Christy's one of the Soul Council members. So
right, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So right there, everybody, right down below us, Astara Raven, right there, https astararaven.love. She has a Facebook site. You can go check her out there too, facebook.com/AstaraRavenLove. And then she also has her own site right down there on that side right there, innerspaceacademy.love. So go check out all these. You all know me. I'm crazy with these things. So this will pop up about 4 or 5 times during the night to share. But yes, go out there. I will also be sure to copy this and paste it into the comments unless someone's already beating me to it. And Jamie's saying, totally agree. We're coming back together in community. So
yeah. Yeah, Jamie. I mean, one of the things that's amazing. So I'm 52 now. Just this June, last month, I turned another solar return. At my 50th marker of hitting a new decade, I had just started more earnestly channeling my guides with a lot more frequency and a lot more clarity. Full on messages downloaded. They're in my book. And what they help me see, and what my higher knowing, my higher self, the expanded aspects of my soul beyond my personality helped me see in this beautiful channeled session right around my birthday week was I was going to be working with others to do a whole new healing modality. And it's not new in the sense that everything that's comprised in this bigger spectrum of what we do with Christy and myself and Orion and some other healers is we're sort of bringing that diverse nature intelligence that we see around us when we look at an ecosystem and we say, how does it do what it does below the surface, in the soil, inside the tree roots, inside the trunk and the branches, everything that we look at from the soil to the sky, there's this intelligent ecosystem.
Yeah.
We act like we live in silos, which we don't. And it's only because we've forgotten. It's a school of remembering that we're all in. So maybe the school, what you didn't learn from a school book,
right,
taught to you when you go hang out in nature, when you go talk to others, and you start to kind of crowdsource your ideas. And so what my guide showed me was, when you bring a whole bunch of healers together and you create a diverse ecosystem of healing, more than just the integrative medicine model, but even taking Western medicines doing some awesome things with functional integrative medicine where they're trying for this. And I'm like, yeah, go.
Yeah.
There's one more innovative step, which is we have to kind of drop some of the barriers of privacy that we would normally think of in healthcare and sort of share and collaborate in a way that's more transparent, just for in the private group setting, but that the client signs on and goes, yes, you guys talk amongst yourselves. So we'll see a client, then we call up and say, hey, this is something we saw past life, this thing, that thing, these layers on the soul level. This is how we'd like to proceed in terms of, healing together. Then the client doesn't have to facilitate only on their own. Right. Usually all of us have to be our own keepers in that regard. And we still are going to be in charge of our own healing journey and learning at a soul level. But if you've got a whole bunch of folks holding it with you for a good portion of time, it's so powerful. Yeah. So when people come through this, they leave on the other side really on this new advanced level of upgrade. And it's such a beauty to witness what can happen when we follow nature's intelligence.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's amazing. I'm gonna have to actually go out there and click on more buttons on your sites.
Yeah, I have a feeling I have a lot to share. So,
Yeah.
but it is that idea that our inner knowing and this soul guidance that's here to support us, that's very benevolent and has been with us for lifetimes. All we have to do is start listening to it to get some of the best ideas, because everybody that's tapping in or going to hear the recording, they're needed at this time on planet Earth to come up with their own innovations,
Yeah.
tap into their guidance, and it'll evolve. I'll have new innovations in a couple of years, but we just got to keep, what I call it, setting up the cosmic conference call. That's what I teach people to do, so they can receive that information that wants to come through.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of mine right here, is being able to talk to people online like this. I think this is my way of getting all that energy and all that knowledge out to people, is by sharing the page and the site, and allowing and having people like you and Christy and everyone on who gets to share this message. You know, I mean, I'm not a direct messenger like you guys are, but I'm kind of a middleman saying, hey, that person right over there, that's the one who's going to help you get there. So type of thing. So I'm just happy to be in the mix somewhere. So
it's important what you do, because when we pollinate and ignite and get that information out there, you know, we're in the age of attention, not information. So you creating platforms to share information in a way that people can attend to, that like speaks to them and ignites them and pollinates these ideas, it's super powerful. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, I appreciate this. Like I said, I'm just a pretty man with a beard. I let you guys do all the talking. So I warned you ahead of time this was coming. This is the only one I warned you about. And everyone knows this is coming at some point during the show. But how did you start? What kind of drew you to this is what I'm supposed to be doing type of moment? Kind of what brought you to where you are now, 52 years later, that I can't really believe, and you're not really 52. Don't look 52. So I'm 50, and look at the people. Look at the difference. 50 look like I'm 90. 52 looks like she's 39. Come on, people.
Yeah.
So
I've got my stripes. It's like my husband Orion calls them moon hairs. So we've got the silvers coming in. They're very powerful. So my actual story, if anybody wants to go into the full deep, I actually do share the full, and I can't, like, which way do I say? So my memoir is a little bit more than a memoir, but it does share the story of how I came into what I came into. I'm going to do it back the other way. Okay. So in the book, How the Stars Tell Time, that I just finished and published this year, what I go into is, it's this funny thing where I talk about how I started in the middle, because when I hit about a decade ago, a little over a decade ago, I was ramping up my studies, and I'm a licensed architect. So I had a whole nother life that I lived. I was working in architecture engineering firms, from small boutique architecture firms to these big, huge, world-renowned architectural engineering firms. I was a sustainable leader, so I kept trying to get to people to design green. I wear my green color here. And along the way, this is the middle that I began in. Along the way, I hit a moment where I had my foot in two worlds. Many of us do this. I'm sure so many that are listening in get this, where they're interested in all this extracurricular, interesting kind of paranormal stuff, which is really the truth. And then they have this foot in the 3D world, you know, with their day job, living the dream, right? But the dream of like, oh, I've got to make more money to get more stuff and have a vacation. And so nothing wrong with that. But once in a while, we have these like kapoom, smack in the head moments that wake us up and say, is that really the dream?
Yeah.
Is this what success is? I'm not sure. And so my body had kind of shown me some symptoms that were helping me see maybe I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. But with my other foot in the other world of metaphysics and mysticism, I was drawn to shamanism. And so I went to a workshop before I turned 41. And so I was still 40. And I remember sitting there. It was a week-long workshop at Esalen. Whoever knows what that is, it's on the coast of California where I'm from. And it's in Big Sur. Beautiful.
Me too.
Yay. Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm sitting there on the coast doing this amazing workshop, having this time. And I realized during the course of 7 days, oh my God, I've been doing this my whole life. So we start in the middle when once in a while somebody comes up and goes bam against our forehead with some big aha moment, or we have the space in a workshop to kind of wake up and go, I think I know how to do this.
Right.
So I was being trained by shamans, and it was as if those scenes in a movie, where somebody watches them have this retrospective and they go, oh my God,
Yeah.
I get it now. And I realized the weird dreams, premonition dreams, things that make no sense, strange synchronicities, no way, no how could I have known this? Nobody told me kind of thing. And I'd go back to my teachers and say, so can I share another dream with you? Can I share another dream with you? Can I share another? And they would just unpack, oh yeah, no, you've been doing this for a long time. Yeah. So I've been doing this for a long time and I just didn't have words for it. I didn't know it. And eventually with my own, magnetic pull, and I'll share this with everybody a little bit later, but the heart is basically a magnet because we are in an electromagnetic universe and we are electric beings, and the center of all of it's our heart. So we're just walking around, what you are seeking is seeking you kind of thing. So I was seeking this metaphysical path, but it was seeking me, and it had been there all along. And so my book is really about learning how to tell time in a different way, to realize so much of what people are coming into. And maybe this will be the same for you, Tom, that you get to a point where you go, oh my God, you just start remembering. It's not this new, I've never thought of that before. You hear these crazy, mystical, metaphysical, paranormal concepts and you go, that sounds like truth to me. Why am I not shocked or surprised?
Yeah. And that's kind of, I'm really not surprised by anything. Unfortunately, I'm not really shocked or fazed by much at all. But it kind of makes me think of the fact that, and those who over there that are chiming in over there knows this stuff about me, but it seems like when I get asked a question, I know the answer, even though I've never experienced it in this life. Like I just instantly know the answer, and it's very random ideas or thoughts that someone has given. Like, for example, someone once said, do you know the meaning behind the red dragons and all these different colors of the dragons? And I said, well, yeah. I go, they're synonymous with all the different religions across time. You have the angels that are all different colors. You have the dragons that are all different colors. You have the Norse gods who are all, the dragons are all different, but they all mean the exact same thing. I have never studied that before in my life, but I knew it like I was a history professor on it, so it was weird how sometimes my mind works that way. And it happens a lot to me. And I don't understand why. I really don't care why. I'm really happy that it happens, because then after the thought process comes out, I get a lot of confirmation like, oh yeah, that sounds right. That makes a lot of sense. I'm like, yes.
Validation is a good thing. Yes. Yes. So I guess, it was that workshop, but there were little moments all along the way. And in fact, in my early 30s, a decade before that, I had some really good friends who got married in the First Nation tradition through kind of a sun ceremony and a medicine ceremony. And what I ended up taking a very sacred peyote journey with an actual medicine man and had a full experience. This was also near Esalen, but a little bit farther north in Santa Cruz. And I had a moment where through the help of the plant and through the help of my connecting and the guidance of this group, there were like 70 of us in this huge teepee, and we stayed up all night. And the tradition is that you don't sleep, you don't leave the tent, you don't go to the bathroom, you don't do anything. You just sit there and you look at the fire. And I'd never done anything like that before at that time in my life. And it was in the fire that I had visions. And then the next day I sat next to a woman when we all had breakfast together, and she told me she was a psychic medium. And I had not met a psychic medium before. I had known of it, and I was interested in past lives, but I just didn't have the tools or knowledge or even language yet.
Right.
And we became friends, and I would visit her in the Santa Cruz Mountains because she lived nearby and I lived in Oakland at the time, not too far north. And I just had these ongoing conversations with her, and she helped me wake up some of my gifts and get to know tarot. So, you know, there were things all along the way to get me where I was at a decade later going, oh my God, I've been doing this my whole life.
Right.
So I think what we are seeking is always seeking us. We each have different waking up moments. I even had another series that happened when I was a teenager, you know, a couple of decades before that, where in high school, I started reading William Blake, the Romantic poet, and he was questioning Christianity, questioning all these interesting things, but he was still a Christian. And I thought, how can you still be a Christian, but question what's happening? And his poetry and what he was doing lit me up. And my whole life changed when I was 17, and I just stopped. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I just stopped and made a pivot. And all my friends went, where'd you go?
Right.
So we have wake up moments all along the way.
That's California. That's just California.
I know. So I can blame it all on poetry.
Right? There you go. Because I'm actually born and raised Napa, California. So yeah, it's different out there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Midwesterns don't know about what Northern California is like.
I know. I bring it to Omaha, Nebraska now, and I think people are very intrigued by me. They're like, what is she doing?
So Holly down here is saying, I see where I have left a trail of breadcrumbs for me to follow in this life to find my path. It's been an amazing journey. So yeah, that seems to be what's happening for a lot of people. And it seems like it's happening to a lot of people right now. Jamie and I were actually talking about that not too long ago, that it's almost like so many more people are waking up to what it should be, not to what it has to be. I mean, if that makes any sense, kind of like you said, so many people are, I need to make more money to have a happy life and to do this and do that and everything else, when that's not totally necessary. If you're doing what you're supposed to kind of be doing, then everything else will fall into place for you. It will take care of itself.
It's such a combination. Ryan and I call ourselves pragmatic mystics because we believe that we're of this world. We're going to do the 3D thing. We're going to make a living and put food on the table and be in a sheltered space, and all the things that we need for 3D living to be safe and secure.
Right.
Of course, we're never really safe and secure, but what I mean by that is just some sort of stability and groundedness.
Yeah.
And then while we're in that space, cosmic conference call, right. Some of the conversations at dinner time will look like this. We're eating, we're hanging out, and I'll say, what do your guides think about this upcoming event? And do you, and he'll say, hold on a minute. He'll stop eating and he'll say, the answer, and he'll bring what's coming through, and I go, okay, cool. And then we'll keep eating. That's a typical conversation at the dinner table. Yeah, and that's what you want to meet. You want to meet your, not just your beloveds, but your kindreds that you can have these conversations with in intimate corners and circles or online here in these groups.
Right.
And encourage and lift each other up. We say all the time, Orion and I would give out big permission slips, and we're here and we're all rising together.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm trying to I kind of want to talk more about the seven. I said 10. I was like you said, maybe that's a number I'm just seeing in the future. But
we could talk about them both.
yeah, but there's seven of you, and you kind of gave a glimpse of what you all do. But how did you all come together?
So that heart magnet is amazing. I like to liken it to the blue line on a map app.
Okay.
Map app we all probably use.
Yep.
And we plug the address in and it says, do you want directions? And you click yes. And then this blue line appears and you follow it. Right. And if you get off the blue line, it'll kind of rearrange itself to say, hey, do you still want to go to your destination?
Right. Flip around, do a U-turn.
You're like, you know, especially if you live in the town and you go, I don't want to follow that blue line. That blue line comes out of our heart energetically, and we have our own compass, we have our own map, our own cartography, and we get to recreate it as we go, you know, to move from the old shoulds to the new, ooh, I could do this. So we're all on a very interesting path because whether people wake up or not, everybody's a creator. We're all creating all of our experiences, even the weird, dark stuff. So on some level, if the heart is got the best sense of where we need to head, and it knows, because it's beyond time, what's happening in all time, which is no time, it's our time travel gate, then if we listen to our time travel gate, we're going to be pulled to where we need to go, who we need to meet, and when we need to be there. And so a lot of times we have our plans, right? We make our plans and God laughs is the quote. But when we make plans, we're doing our best sense at being a creator. We're saying, okay, this is what I understand about the world as I know it. I'm going to try to do this event on this date. And then things happen, right? We go, how could this happen? I was supposed to, you know, I thought. And even some of the people that I had originally thought would be in the council, I was guided in other directions. People I hardly even knew. My guide said that person, and I went, okay. And I said, hey, do you want to grab some coffee? And now we're the bestest of buddies, and we work together very intimately. So our heart really does know, even if we question it with that more logical left brain part of our bio suit, and we go, well, that doesn't make any sense. I ask all of you when that moment happens and your logic kicks in to try to slap down that blue line, because it'll still arrange itself no matter what you choose. Really, really trust what comes from the heart. And the way you can know it comes from the heart is it feels good. It feels exciting. It makes you curious. It titillates. It's like, oh, you think I could, oh, you know, that kind of thing.
You mean like me having you on the show tonight?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we picked a date and boom, here we are. And that's the blue line. And we just have to keep following that. We have not just one brain. So what we don't learn in school is we have 3 brains. And actually, I think we're going to find out we have 4 or more, because the whole body is a brain. But we have the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. And if they're not talking, we're not going to have our best ideas come into the world. We have to get all our brains into coherence to do the thing we're here to do. Yeah.
All right. So I heard all that. I love all that. People love all that. Jamie even says she loves this analogy. So this turns me to a new question. I am following this blue line. Is this blue line, so this is a 2-part question. This blue line a predetermined fate that I'm supposed to meet these people? And am I allowed to change that fate?
I love that question. That's the best question ever. It makes my octopus kick in. So, yes and no. The reason it's we live in a hollow fractal graphic universe. I'm going to say that again. We live in a hollow fractal graphic universe, which means we're in a hologram and we have things occurring at lots of different scales that mimic each other. So we're all kind of mimics of each other as a hologram. How's it what? And I do talk about it in this book. So I will unpack that word for you in the book, and I can do it here a little bit more. But when we think about fate and destiny and the future, like people might come up and say, well, you have a soul contract with that person, so, you have to see that through. Well, just like in our world, we can break contracts. Mm-hmm. We can set things up based on our certain consciousness of a different lifetime. And that lifetime says, oh, I want to learn this when I go have this body and this planet. And so we go, okay, my name is Astara Raven. Actually, it didn't used to be my name, which is a whole nother thing in my book. So I changed my name 5 years ago officially, but I really got my name a decade ago. And all these things, right, kick in. And I think, well, I was born and my parents gave me a name, and you would think I would have that till the day that I die. But I decided that I needed to follow my blue line, and I needed to follow my inner knowing. And my heart told me it was time to change my name. And so these are the things that there are certain determinants. I picked my family. I picked to be an architect. I picked to change it later in my life. I created all of that when I was born. But I started noticing that even car accidents, even illnesses, things that I set up for myself, I said, I don't want to keep going with that. So I learned in my late 30s how to go into the Akashic records and change some stuff up. Oh. And at the new level of consciousness that I had, I said, I'm going to break this contract. I don't want to see that illness through. I don't want to do that. I actually want to create something different because I have moved through many lifetimes in this body and I want to evolve and grow. So we do have things that we can see through. We have free will. We can say, yep, I'm going to stick with all the contracts. I'm going to stick with all the illnesses. I'm going to create all the accidents and I'm going to learn so much through those. Or you could say, I've learned a thing or two and I'd like to not learn that way.
Right.
And I don't want to go to be 60 and look like a certain thing and hobble around. I want to be happy and vital and in my body. I'm going to start eating better. I'm going to work out. Free will, we can change it all up at any time.
Perfect. That actually answers my question. Oh my goodness, you give an answer unlike a politician. You actually give an answer that's an answer.
I think that's what my dad joked when he was alive. He said, I want you to run for president. And I was like, I don't want any part of that.
Well, that's funny because I have friends who call me the politician because I actually say hi and shake hands with everybody. So I'm called a politician because of that way. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
That's beautiful.
But they come with it. And I tell them, I said, well, it's important for me to meet everybody and to talk to everybody because for me, it's twofold. One is I never know when I'm going to need a helping hand from somebody who I've met. Or two, I never know when they're going to need a helping hand from me after they've met me. So it's kind of a two-way street here. So you never know who's going to go, I met this guy, Tom Springer, and I have a message to get out. I want to be on his show. Cool. Talk to me. Let's do that. And then I never know when I'm going to have to be like, you know what? I know that you do taxes and I'm horrible at taxes. Can you do my taxes? So it's for me, it's a two-way street. It's the meeting of helping each other in a way. And that's why I am that politician. This is why I walked up to people in Mystic Fest and said, hey, I want to talk to you guys. And here's what I do. Can you come on and talk about what you do? Because everyone here knows what I do. But there's a handful of people, I will tell you, there's a handful of people way over there that already knew what you did before you even came on here. Because I had comments of, wait, you have Astara coming on?
Ah!
And I was like, yes. And she has a book. I'm like, yes, I know this. So other people already knew who you were. But it allows them to now get to meet you simply because I was a politician. And I know politician is normally a bad word like lawyer, but in some cases it can be good. Sorry, that's my rant.
No, I get it. I get it. You know, we can take any role in our society and we can lift it to a new octave.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I want to ask. I don't know if this is so. Orion, I'm an analyst by trade. I do research. It's just the way I'm built. I'm really lazy about following through with it, though. That's the bad part. I will learn it, but I just won't put it into practice. Like you can tell me, I can tell you all kinds of different ways to do all kinds of mystical things, but I have never really followed through and done it myself. Like I'm terrible at meditating, stuff like that. But I can help others do it. Those it says those who don't, those who can't do teach, and so that's kind of me. I think I'd be a great teacher because I just don't want to do it all. But I can teach others how to do it. But in my research and also confirmation from somebody who may live in this house, we also know that Orion's name was not originally Orion either.
Right.
So both of you made that decision to go ahead and change that.
Yeah, I talk about it in my book, but da, da, da. So Orion, when I met him, his given name is Ryan Muff. My given name is Lily Marie Livingston. He's Ryan Lee Muff. And on our first date, my cat was still alive. And he was with our cat for many, many years. My cat didn't die until last January. And my cat's name was Orion. So my cat was like 9 years old when I met Orion. And when he came into the house for the first time, I said, "Oh, don't worry about the orange fur ball, walking around. That's my cat Orion." And he said, he was in the kitchen, kind of leaning against the counter, just standing up. And he said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, my cat Orion." And he wouldn't talk to me for a minute. He that thing that guys do when they go, "I don't want to cry. I'm not going to show an emotion. I'm just going to breathe." And
right.
And I'm watching him going, "What's happening?" And he looks at me and he goes, "I love that name." And I said, "Oh, I know, me too." And he said, "My mom said that I was named after an actor, but I think that I was named after the constellation. I feel that in my heart and soul." And I go, "Well, you probably were then." So it was not but a year into being together, and we were talking to one of my contacts who wrote the foreword, Atassier, who wrote the foreword in my book, an amazing healer in his own right in LA. He started ecstatic dance in LA, just incredible human. And we were doing a long distance Reiki session with him. And he said his name, but he didn't use Ryan. So he's just talking to him in a channeled state. And he said, Orion. And we're both looking at each other going, huh. So when we got engaged, we thought, well, instead of me taking his name, we're going to take our soul names. So we used our marriage as a wonderful springboard to step into our next upgrades.
How are we at? 38 minutes. Time to share this again. All right, for people who haven't come in yet or who came in late, hello for coming in late. Bad on you. Astara Raven, https astararaven.love. She's on Facebook as well, facebook.com/astararavenlove. And her site, way over there on the far side of her, is innerspaceacademy.love. And because I can actually talk and type at the same time and listen, Astara Raven, How the Stars Tell Time, that is her book. So there you go.
And if you just go to my site, astararaven.love, you'll see a big sparkly banner across the top. It says, "Here's the book." So
right. It's amazing.
Easy to get.
Go out to the sites. I'm telling you right now, go out to any one of those sites. Check it out. Like I said, I am a self-proclaimed nerd. Everyone knows this on this site, that I am a nerd. And I researched you. Like I said, I don't ask you a lot of questions, but I do like to know a little bit about you before I have you on. And I just sat there and I just clicked through all of them, and I was like, well, that's cool. That's cool too. Oh, that's cool too. So that's how I kind of went through your sites, is doing the nerdy me self. And so that's kind of where we went with that. Speaking of where we're going, that's great segue to the next question I have for you. what's next?
Well, so what's next for me is, I kind of hinted at it earlier with, I'm really excited about Christy's movie.
Mhm.
And what's so fun about helping another person, so it's not even my book, it's another person's book. My architect skills, I got into architecture because I love to draw, and I'm a visual artist. And I get to do that as a movie editor, and I get to come in and bring visuals to life. And so Orion has all this stuff that he shot as the filmmaker. We make music as Illuminating Hearts. So for those that don't know, once you go to AstaraRaven.love, you can go click on the tab Illuminating Hearts and learn all about the stuff we do as sound healers. And we work with gongs and bowls and didgeridoos, and I sing and he sings, and we've got lots of other instruments, flutes and shruti boxes and all the bits that are pretty much all over the world. We're like a cornucopia. And so we're making the sound, and it is incredible because Christy, who is bringing such important information through her alien abduction experiences and through her understanding as a contactee to extraterrestrials and what it's like to be a psychic medium at the same time coming into all this. It's quite a journey in her memoir, and it's called We Are Not Alone. And what is so great about this movie, called We Are Not Alone, as a documentary, is we get to capture the magic of Christy and the stories that she brings in her wisdom as an elder. And then we get to capture also with our sound, it's like a healing transmission and energetic transmission of like encoded frequencies. And then we get to bring in some humor, some feeling, deep feeling stories, beautiful tidbits of knowledge and wisdom. So as I'm editing, I'm like, oh my God, this is a thing.
Right.
So that's going to be, we're finishing it up this week, and we're going to be composing the music and then getting it to print. And it's going to be this fall that we're going to be starting to get it into theaters and streaming it. So if you get onto our newsletter, which is on astararaven.love, I don't send a lot of emails, I promise. And you can get the announcements of when the movie comes out. Yeah. The other thing that's next is, after that's done, I'm going to record my book on audiobook, which is going to be a thing because it's not just me talking about my life. It's actual dialogue in it, and there's stories, and it's alive, and it's got channeled stuff, and it's going to be quite an audiobook. So
it's funny you say that, because that was one of the things that I was asked about, is if your book is available in audiobook. Because they're like, oh, I'm so into audiobooks now. I don't really sit down and take the time to read anymore, but I love doing audiobooks because I can listen to it as I'm doing anything. So that was actually a question that came up, is your book specifically an audiobook? So
it's coming. And we wish it was here already, of course, because we know for many of us, yes, Audible, my jam. So it's coming, and it's going to be incredible. We don't just do sound healing, we do sound recording. So we have good mics, we're solid in our audio-ness. I'm making up new words. And
they're real because you said it. So they're real.
Yeah. And what's so important about the hard copy is that because it's got two parts to this book, and the first part is called Quantum Wilderness. And in the first part, I basically unpack. I have a chapter called Science as a Verb. I have a chapter about the heart and sound and all the things. So I unpack in the first part sort of all the technology that's built inside of our bio suits and our amazingness as electromagnetic beings that allows us to do what I call time travel. So that when you read the second part, which is the narrative called Time Travel, and I'm communing with parts of myself and my future self, one you have not yet seen here, that, you get to kind of understand both. So as you're looking at the magic of the audiobook coming, it's coming. Yeah. I also encourage you get a hard copy, because I've heard more than one person say, I've underlined so many places, I've ear tabbed so many pages that I have to go back and, so it's the kind of thing where you might want as a reference book.
Well, it's funny because I watched you hold it up. I watched you hold up your book, and you have tabs in your own book. So
I know. I can't even get it into the screen. I have to do backwards. I know.
You have tabs in your own book. So it's funny because I'm like, you even have to go back and read your own stuff because you haven't tabbed.
Seriously, that's a thing when we're in the cosmic conference call and we're channeling and we're connecting. We've got like a Zoom screen with our guides and our higher self and ancestors and soul family. And we're having this full-on conversation across the cosmos. We bring stuff through that's so much bigger than our personality.
Right.
All of us are channels. Every person that's listening in now or in the future has the ability to do this. And that's what I teach in Inner Space Academy. So we don't teach this in school, but we should.
Yeah.
Because that blue line that's possible for us to follow, not the one that Google Maps gives us, but the one that comes out of our heart. And we get to like say, oh, the compass and the wisdom of my heart's going to lead me in my life because it already knows what's going to happen. And this is how we remember our future. Yeah.
Do you use, since we know we experience so many different lives and so many different lifetimes, do you use the word reincarnation or do you use something else?
I do use that word. Okay. And I even talk about it with that word. But one of my favorite things to say is, so I heard this recently from Brene Brown and I love it. So I'm going to reuse it. But that the heart, itself is the ocean and our language is the shore. So we can all learn each other's shore. Like in intimacy, what we're doing is kind of saying, I want to understand your shore. Here's my shore. And when I say this big word, spirituality or sustainability or time travel or reincarnation, what do I mean? Some people who use the word Akashic Records, other people use the term Book of Life. Other people say Tree of Life. Some people call it the eighth dimension. I don't care what you call it, as long as we can get on the same page and say, hey, that's what this means for me. So if somebody says reincarnation, another person might say past lives. Some people who I think Jamie gets this, that time isn't real. So some people might say, well, how could it be a past life if past doesn't exist? So then other people say, oh, I'm going to call it other lifetimes.
Right.
Other people call it being multidimensional because maybe that's just me in another dimension, not another life. But in a way, that's the same thing. So it is coming out in our movies. It's starting to enter our paradigm thinking that it's not just reincarnation, but it's the multiverse. And there's an Astara in another dimension and place. There was me in another age that was Lily. They all exist at the same time.
See, now you're on my language right there. So I talk about, if people would let me go, Mr. Nighthawk, I'm pointing out because he says he hopes that I'm letting you talk because I have a tendency to talk on my own show. So yes, I'm acknowledging. Thank you very much, William. But I love to talk about the parallel dimensional thought process. And I talk about so many things about how many people don't understand how many parallel dimensions there are. Yes. Science has identified so many. And my thought, I'm just going to share this with you, just to throw this out there, because this is my own personal thought process. And I've never heard anyone else repeat it outside of me, because I think I'm the only one, maybe the first one to come up with it. My thought process is, if we're looking at the world and we have longitudinal and latitude lines, our lines of longitude that go from pole to pole, there's so many of them. Each one of them is a parallel universe that will connect when it gets to the poles to another location, but then they split back out and go around another world, and then they join back up again. So it's almost like it's an intertwining connection that will happen every so often. But because there's so many of them all around the world, each single one of those is a parallel dimension that connects up at one point, and then they split off again and join up again later on.
All right, so I'm going to bring out my toroidal slinky to explain this. Dun-dun-dun. Okay. So we've got the Earth. Okay, so the Earth is sitting inside of this donut shape. I don't know if everybody can see it, but there's like a kind of a donut. And what's fun about it is, I have these on my website if you guys want one. So it spirals around like this. So the whole, I talked about fractals earlier. Everything is a fractal of this spiral, this electromagnetic spiral. Okay, so let's imagine there's one around your body. So all of you are this tall and your heart's right here. But there's one that goes around the earth. And the one that goes around the earth means that the core of the earth is right here. So the earth's heart.
Okay.
And the earth kind of like, ends sort of in here. It's not right at the very top. All these electromagnetic spirals, you could also think of it this way, that I'm just looking through the center, right? So those longitudes and latitude and all that idea of the ley lines, that's one way to look at it. I'm going to get a little crazy here and say that if we're in the center, in the heart of our heart, my center of my electromagnetic field is the center of your electromagnetic field. And it's also the center of the Earth's, and it's the center of another planet's. And what ends up happening is when we go into the center of the center, so I'm going to stand up a little bit. So when we go right in here and we're sitting in the center of our slinkies, and by the way, it's even more complex because, okay, I'm going to blow your minds for a minute. So imagine there's this around all of us, right? And then imagine there's a smaller one inside. So there's two donuts stacked on top of each other, and they each have different vectors of flow. So our brains can't even understand it. It's not linear. And then inside of each energy center, there's one of these, and every cell, it goes all the way fractally down quantum, all the way out to the universe. So what we're dealing with, holofractal graphic universe, is we're dealing with time travel happens in the center of that electromagnetic field. And since your center is my center, it's called the tiny space of the heart or the 0 point or the Janus point. There's lots of names, right? All the different shores. So whatever you want to call it, it's that 0 point. And when you go in there, you can go anywhere. You can go anywhere. And you don't even have to leave your body, although some people do, astral traveling and such. So it's kind of cool. Everybody's got this technology. And that's why I think when some people do plant medicine and they don't have training and they get blown into their 0 point and they don't know how to get back into the 3D pragmatic,
Right.
there can be some overwhelming sensations. And then others that don't have training, that have some kind of mental health issues and they don't realize that they're shamans meant to be, but they have no skills or tools or training, they can get blown out. So if people don't know how to work with that slinky, and that's what Inner Space Academy is, it's like, okay, how do we work with all of that? We can really learn to master it and become time traveling masters. Yeah.
And William comes back with, you can take that out even further, where each person is the dimensional center, and then out from there, infinity.
Yep.
So,
yep.
If you haven't met William Nighthawk yet, he is he's a shaman and indigenous person, retired military or veteran, very, very much knowledgeable with all of this as well. So he's one that I actually listen to and have been learning from. One of the people. I rely a lot on him for the Native American side because but I don't have anyone in my background that I can fall back to gain the information. So luckily I have him in my life where I can fall back and ask the information and those type of questions. But yes, he's one of those two that's one of those deep thinkers. So
I appreciate that. Thank you, William, for your thoughts. And yes, it does work that we're each that dimensional center, and from there infinity. It's like, here, I'll quote from my book here. I'll read a little section.
Oh, look, audiobook, people. Hold on, audiobook.
I know. Live audiobook right here. Lean into the microphone. So in my introduction, which I call The Future is Relational, a couple pages in, I say, time travel is a fancy way of saying I am standing in eternity. Eternity is not everlasting time. Eternity is outside of time. Time travel is powerful because we can commune with the past, present, and future all at once. It is part of a both and cosmos. And I believe that both and cosmos is what probably everybody that's going to be listening in is wanting to, lift up in their lives and be a part of. Our brains and our egos, not all of our brain, but the frontal lobe and the back. We need to be in the center. Those are protective, logical. They're trying so hard to do win, lose, win, lose. And it's like our heart and the very center of our brain that can connect. I pulled this card for the whole group, by the way. This is the group energy today. It's the Harmony card in my Osho Zen Tarot deck. And it's that heart talking to the center of the brain and where the third eye is, the pineal gland. And so when we get into that harmonious, coherent state where both brains are talking along with the gut, we can get into that feeling of eternity. And we can get outside of time or inside it, depending on which way you want to look at it. But we all are incredibly connected, and we have no idea. We like to think of it and say it spiritually, but we really can't grasp it.
So I want to share what Joe has posted up. Hi, Joe, by the way. He says, Action Lab on YouTube has a very good analogy on 3D versus 4 dimensions and how things other dimensional appear to us in our third dimensional plane. The concept of time and parallel universes are more easily understood from those theories.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I love that. I'll have to check it out. Some of you might have heard of, let's see if I can remember the name. Name brain at the end of the day is like a, whew, there it goes. I know you're out here somewhere, but there's most of you are going to know this. There's a Gaia series, and it's called Initiation, I'm pretty sure. And he goes through in the first 9 where he talks about 1 through the 9 dimensions. There's also a really great book out by Barbara Hand Clough. It's a little different framing of it called The Alchemy of 9 Dimensions. So both of those are great resources to get into that. So I'll have to check out the Action Lab.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
You do lectures.
Yes.
I know you do. when you go into a lecture series for the day or for whatever else, what is it that you're discussing?
Really, it depends. My book is such a collaborative, energetic across all the disciplines that I've been gathering. So like you, I have this side of me that's like, I'll shake hands with anybody, and then I'll also shake hands with pretty much any modality. I'll be like, ooh, I want to learn that.
Right.
Ooh, I want to learn that. Ooh, that's interesting. And I'll stay with it just long enough. And I'm not trying to disrespect a discipline or disrespect a line of wisdom, because I do believe that there is beauty in those that are really deeply set into something and truly being bringing a wisdom path to the world through them and their expertise. And it's a reason I became an architect. I'm a dabbler. Like I have a Renaissance-y kind of brain. So it really can vary, over my years before I stepped into this more full-time kind of intuitive healer coach, soul coach journey. I was doing sustainability lectures. And in those lectures, I was trying to help people see nature's intelligence. I taught about biomimicry and biophilic design, these concepts of bringing nature indoors or working with nature in a more mentorship way, rather than like, oh, we're humans, we're at the top of the pole, we know everything. It's like, I don't think so. We have 5,000 years of R&D. Nature has like 3.8 billion years of R&D. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So
and all dogs who are smarter than me, and I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Right. And First Nation tribes, all of them are animistic in the sense that they see God in everything and know that life itself is intelligent and carries that God wisdom. And we're but just, representatives of that same lineage if we're willing to be connected to our own intelligence, but most of us aren't.
Yeah.
So, it is it's a long-winded thing to basically say when I'm lecturing, I am able to talk on many different subjects, which it just depends on the audience and the theme or what class I'm teaching. But I teach energy codes, which is just a fancy way of saying working with the chakras in yoga.
Yeah.
the Vedic, the side of yoga that's more the philosophical side. I teach a lot of these things having to do with thinking about the quantum wilderness. I teach people how to activate their Merkaba, which is basically our light body that helps us travel through space. I teach people how to meditate, but not in the way that you would think. So I would even challenge something you said earlier. You said, I'm not a good meditator. And I think you are. You're just
but not in the
different.
traditional
Yes.
way that everyone thinks you need to meditate. I am very good at meditation in the way that you're supposed to meditate. I'm very good about just being lost in thought at any point in time, especially if I'm outdoors, just doing my own thing. I know that's a form of meditation. I do know I do it, but not to the way that people would expect meditation to be done, sitting down cross-legged on the table or on the couch, just looking into the light and all that good stuff. Nope, that is not my form of meditation. That puts me to sleep. So
my meditation is dance, it's art, it's piano. My meditation is breath, and it's swimming, and it's walking. I mean, we can take the meditation into our whole life. I meditate while doing the dishes. Yeah. So there's no rules. The world of both and includes all of it, right? And we get to realize, oh, I'm sitting here doing the dishes. I'm going to anchor myself in my core, breathe up and down my channel, connect to my cosmic conference call inside my slinky, and I'm just doing the dishes and getting some good messages. So there's really nowhere that meditation is not, you know?
Right. Joe suggests that you should learn about some of the Hawaiian stuff. Joe just happens to be over there.
Yeah, I'd love to hear Joe, because I do know one of my teachers was actually a shaman trained in Hawaii. So I'd love to know what Joe's talking about.
I'm sorry. I'm also reading these.
I know. I love the spider webby.
Back to spider webby. Like, don't be jealous of my big vocab. She's saying, yeah, it's sometimes red, sometimes silver. So Jamie, I'm kind of chiming into Jamie here too. It's very odd that she says that, because a lot of people, I have been told by a lot of people that, close your eyes, picture a color, do this, whatever else. Whenever I close my eyes, I don't care what it is. I always see a very, very dark gray background, and it's not a spider web, but it really looks like it's a red electrified fence. But that's what it looks like, and that's always the same color. My fence never alters colors. I can see other colors if I focus on different things, but if I'm looking for that one thing, I don't know what it is. I don't know what my red spider webby thingy is tied to, but that's always what I see, and it's always a red. So it's interesting, because Jamie and I talked like about how slow written in English would work better. How we have so many similarities that it's funny she brings that up, because I do the same thing. I have the red in my colors. And William's saying, deep breath in and out, focus your heartbeat, and then good night. So
hey, it works. All of it works to help sleep. Yeah, I think, only Tom, ultimately what that means, but I have a sense. I'm just going to put this to the middle of the table, and then you can grab it or not. That you're seeing what we might call the electrical universe, because that sort of electrified fence kind of concept is the grid, the matrix. Oh. And when we're breathing, like when people say, breathe into your belly and then exhale nice and long, which I say all the time in my classes, I'm teaching people how to breathe in that energy that they are, because we do not stop here at the edge of our body.
Right.
Not only is it the slinky, but we actually go beyond the slinky. So we get to breathe ourselves in and then exhales ourselves out. And when you're really connecting with that at a level of the quantum soup, it's like, oh my God, it's all energy. Yeah. And so maybe your inner knowing is showing this really cool graphic to say, hey, you can see the grid and you don't have to take DMT.
And that's really interesting. That's really interesting though, because it happens to me automatically.
That's cool.
I don't have to be in any form of state. I can just close my eyes and it's always there readily available for me to see.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I see when I close my eyes when I'm trying to go to sleep.
I love it.
And then I move on to a very rudimentary form of remote viewing. And then sometimes I will move on to a astral travel, but it's always the red electrified fence with the gray background is I see every single night, or I can see anytime I close my eyes. It's always the very first thing I see before I see what's next.
I love it.
Interesting that you bring that up. So it's almost like that's my first thing that's readying me to see what's next.
Yeah. Christy and I both talk about this. She helps people train to become psychic mediums and trust their gifts. And what we can realize, and everybody, right? It's that heart, ocean, language, shore analogy I was talking about. Like we all have our own shores and we're going to work with our own language. It's the same with visual signs. So your guides and your higher self are offering you imagery that's your own lexicon, that is going to start having meaning in time for you. Like we'll talk about it today and you'll go, oh yeah, it's the grid, or maybe it's, and then over time you'll get more and more clarity with confidence and you'll go, oh my gosh, I know what this is at an even deeper level. And so you get to just slowly gather all the little vectors to help you see that, but you're building such a cool lexicon and I'm excited that you're working on it.
Yeah. Okay, let's be honest. Honestly, I'm not working on it. I am, but I'm not consciously, purposefully working on it. It's just happening. And it seems to be how
many people, it's happening.
It seems to be what has happened over the past year and a half. And the people over on that side again, way over there, know that I explained to them I developed abilities and I only learned about them about a year and a half ago, and it literally hit me like I was drinking from a fire hose. It just, so much came on, and it's so many different patterns and so many different things that I haven't done anything to try to look into it. It's just automatically happening. So and I'm just kind of letting it go. That's why I don't forcibly meditate. I don't do all this. I don't do the readings. I don't do all this stuff because it just comes to me. And it's weird because I watch some TV shows, I know, which is horrible, but I listen to other people and everything else, and they talk about how they have to take the time to open up and they got to do this and they got to do that. It's just there for me. If someone wants to come in and talk to me and talk to my voice in my head, it happened on my show a few times where all of a sudden I get a message for someone on the show. They just walk in and start talking to me. I don't have to do anything to prep for it. It just happens. So it's kind of interesting. Sorry, I'm also reading some of the comments, but it's funny that you say that because I don't try. It just kind of happens. I'm really lazy. So
But are you? Because look at what you're doing with the show, and you're bringing folks like me on, and you're having conversations, and that's going to lift you and do it, even if you don't go off and do anything else. Also, I say to a lot of people that when we watch movies, when we watch TV shows, when we read books, when we're just out in the world, everything is coming in with messages, information. Nothing's an accident.
Right.
So we can get the deepest, most profound messages through a script that like millions of other people are watching, but we got the message that we got because that was what we needed to hear in that moment. It's just like that. Yeah. And that's a very shamanic lens to kind of put on the world and go, everything is medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, Joe. Joe's saying, imagine what you could do if you tried. Yes.
Exactly. And I talk about that in my book, Become on Purpose, people. Get on purpose. And that's the magic sauce.
that's the other half yelling at me right there. And I try to tell these people, for me, it's a very simple 2-worded statement. I'm lazy. So
You're not. You're just making choices.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're not lazy. All of these things are just claims. See, when we speak, we create. You don't have to claim that. You're good at meditation and you're not lazy. Boom. What?
Oh, geez. I'm being called out by my own guest. All right, folks, that's our show. Good night. Have a great time.
Okay, we're good. Back to quantum wilderness. Let's go. Yeah.
So hold on. I threw it up there earlier, but I did not explain to people. Okay. Again, information. I told you this is going to go up tons of times tonight. So, love, Facebook, way back over there, facebook.com, Astara Love, and then interspaceacademy.love. Go check them out. You will love the information that's in there. Like how I used the word love in there. You will enjoy everything you see in there. You will learn so much stuff just by going to her page. You don't even you ain't got to sign up for nothing. You just got to click on the page and you're going to learn so much just by clicking on the page and reading through the stuff. You're like, really? That's so cool. And then you know what you're going to do? You're going to go, what's on this tab? Click.
Oh,
People, that's what's gonna happen. So, and then I got to remember this one because I actually took the time to type it out. She has a book for those of you who don't know, How the Stars Tell Time. She has it right there, as a matter of fact.
wait, I'm learning how to do the mirror thing. Okay.
She's confused by the fact you got to point the other direction from the camera. I still do it too.
I'm so used to this star being over here, and it's like, oh, it's over here.
My Superman's over here, and it's really throwing me off because now he looks like he's over there. So, and for those who don't know or who weren't listening in the first place, because some of you don't, her book is going to also be on audiobooks when she records it.
Yep, coming this fall. Yay! Everything's coming this fall.
I know. Yours, Christy's stuff is coming this fall. Everything's coming up this fall. Do we have, and I say we because if you're going to go to it, I'm probably going to attend it. Do we have anything going on here in the local area, like a Mystic Fest or a...
So there is a Mystic Fest in October. Illuminating Hearts, for those that are in the region, we are going to have our first Sound Alchemy in, May, June, July, August, 5 months. In September, we have yet to put the date out, but get on our newsletter and you'll get the date.
Hey,
and
can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you make it after the 10th? Because I'll be coming back from Japan on the 9th. So
it will be after the 10th. It's going to be closer to the equinox and the moon cycle. So I have to go pick that date. But we got a heads up from Bancroft Street Market. So it's going to be there. And it's a beautiful space, great acoustics, nice old wood floors, big tall ceilings, and it's going to be magical. And there's a lot of room in that space for a lot of people. So we're going to bring all of our gongs, which is 12, and about 4 of them are 38 inchers. And we have a 36, a 32, a 20, there is a lot of sound and a lot of metal. It's gorgeous, gorgeous. We call it the time machine. So that's going to be coming up around the equinox. And so I'll pick a date and a time and send it out in my newsletter. So get on our mailing list.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, you heard it here first. She's going to give you a backstage pass. So just so you know.
We say that. Okay, so one of the magical things at Bancroft Street Market is it's so big for our space because our Cathedral of Sound is like 12 gongs. It's a lot of space. We put benches behind the gongs. So not only can you lay out and meditate, you can also just get up and sit behind those magical gongs. So you can get a backstage pass at this.
I call it right now, dibs. Dibs.
He's bringing it in, folks. Yeah.
What about I'm sharing stuff about Orion too. What about Orion? What's he got going on?
So this film is his baby.
Okay.
I mean, it is something that he's been working on for about 2 years, and it's incredible. The moments, I don't know, I forget the exact order in the meme, but the creative process is usually like, this is so awesome, and like, oh yeah, wow, and oh my God, and what the hell was I thinking? And then, so we've been through it since this got filmed right before COVID hit, and it put a bit of a sludge drudgery kind of slowdown for the whole process. But we've got some incredible things coming together in that. And this has been such a huge part of his life. So after that, probably he'll start thinking about his next documentary.
Nice. So for those who don't know who we're talking about, Orion is her husband. And he is amazing. He's kind of that really laid back, think of an even cooler version of Matthew McConaughey, with dark hair. And that's really what you get with Orion.
That's so funny.
It really is. I mean, she's kind of got that laid back, hey, folks, how y'all doing? Welcome.
Yes, he's a man who wears kilts, so it's awesome.
We have someone coming in. Hi, Dana.
Hi, Dana.
So she was on here. She was a guest. It's funny because there's so many people that are in my audience who have been past guests. And I'm very appreciative of that because I know what you're going through. So I have so many more questions. I just don't want to kill your time.
Well, I want to leave folks with one concept because of the card I pulled. I'm like, what's the group energy? And I'm just going to, for those that are new, this is the group energy. So it's called Harmony. It's the 10 of Cups or water. And you could see the dolphins are swimming out of the heart and right into the visionary center of the mind as I figure out the mirror. So that is getting me thinking about the word alchemy, which is kind of my thing. If you go onto my website, you'll see sound alchemy, soul alchemy, this alchemy, and that alchemy. What is alchemy, you might ask? Well, I go into it in depth in the book, but basically it is the ability to change your relationship to something. So a lot of people would say, oh gosh, you have to change lead into gold. And that's amazing to change the state of one thing that we'd think, like how important is lead? Ooh, gold, so valuable. Right. So to be able to get to something that feels like lead in your life, right? The things that weigh us down, the traumas, the dramas, all that, we have to change our relationship to it. It's not that we have to make that thing go away, or we have to, in the old notion of metaphysics, like I'm going to clear it and it will be gone. No, you don't ever clear. A thing doesn't go away. Right. It's the law of thermodynamics. It just changes form. So alchemy is the ability to work with the law of thermodynamics as an energy being, as a creator and a manifester, to say, like Jesus, one of the alchemists, to close our eyes. And when we open them, we say, behold, I make all things new. And we just might even say it silently, energetically inside of ourselves. So the charge and the tool that I'll give all of you as you go off into the world is a powerful shamanic tool to close your eyes and open them in any situation, and you can change it. All you have to do is be willing, get on purpose, and say to yourself, I will make this new. It could be a gorgeous moment that you make more gorgeous, or it could be an awful moment that you make tolerable. But, either way, it's kind of powerful if you think about it. So all of us can be on purpose. All of us are alchemists. And I teach more nuanced forms of how to do this, but basically it is that simple. And yes, we all have a little bit of Christ consciousness in us, like Jesus, and we can say, behold, I make all things new.
Very cool. I would not have thought of that.
And that's what we need in the future, is more of that.
Yeah, I agree. We do need more of that. Okay, I'm going to ask you, it's kind of a switch on topics for you.
Okay.
As far as the paranormal side of things, how are you with paranormal? Have you done anything paranormal? Do you have abilities such as what you talked about before, like the psychic medium type of stuff? Or I know a lot of people don't like using the labels for them, but it's the only way I can ask the questions.
That's okay. We need some language.
Yeah. Because some people that are, I mean, everybody is an empath in one form or another. There's no way around that, unless you're just a robot. And I'm close, but
or you do the robot dance, yeah.
Right, or you do the robot dance. That seems to lock everything out.
Yeah.
But do you have anything like that you have experienced in your past, or you still do now? And do you use those as teaching experiences during your lectures or your seminars, or on your site or in your book?
Yeah, good question. So I also play with words because as a wordsmith, I just can't help it. But I am definitely a psychic medium, but what I like to call it is, and I'm a medical medium, but what I like to call it is just psychic prosperity. And it's a term I got from Paul Selig, who's an amazing channel, and some of you may know him. And he channels his guides that bring through some pretty big high vibe stuff. So my guides, I think, work at that similar level. They just have different kind of messages to bring through than Paul's. And I love him. And I actually refer to him in my book and some of his claims. But the psychic prosperity term I love because if you think of it, we all want abundance in our life, right? We all want to have enough of what we need so that we can focus on the things we love. And that can also happen through our senses. So each sense that we're given can be expanded. We can have our sight or our inner sight. We can have even taste that's expanded, that's not anything in the room, but we can taste a thing that's not there. We can smell, we can hear, we can touch, we can feel, we can know. So there's all these different senses, and we can expand them past our 3D understanding of them. And that's psychic prosperity.
Okay.
All of us can do that. Not all of us do that. And most often, you've, Tom, been given that gift without a lot of effort, right? And to get that tool of yours to the next level, you might have to put a little more of that on purposeness in. But either way, you've got it. And it came pretty straight, because you're an older soul. So there's nothing about young or old soul that's about judgment. It's just, if you've been around the block a few more times, you might have more of those circuits built in just inherently.
Right.
And I seem to have those. But in the last, I would say 2 decades, I started giving more permission. I started using them daily. I started building muscle, and I started, allowing them through. And so they have been coming bigger and bolder every year. And I don't think it'll ever stop. We're always expanding. So my paranormal experiences are, I work, because I'm an architect, I do what's called artifact archaeology for building and lands. And I help clear maybe discarnates and those that are not embodied, that are maybe hanging around in a more tragic, not good way.
Yeah.
And I help escort them to the light or go to their next gig in the quantum wilderness. Or I work with people and help them talk to deceased loved ones, or I bring messages through from soul family. I help their guides and my guides have a little conference, and I go, this is what I'm getting. And so I'm constantly channeling and working with different levels of information and dimensional reality. In terms of extraterrestrials, any kind of entities that are not of this planet or what we would think of a deceased human,
Right.
I believe all of it, just like we would think of in our movies, we're getting more into this idea of, okay, ETs exist.
Right.
So, and given that I'm working with Christy and I'm my husband, not only do I work with him, I live with him, but I've seen signs of me helping him stop his abduction experiences. And I even once said to the ETs, like, you cannot take him tonight.
Right.
And he started, like, he was asleep, but his body started shaking, and then it stopped. And I went, oh, good, I got him back. So, I'm having all the experiences, and I'm not startled by them, because when you get to a state of psychic prosperity, it's just not scary. It's just energy, and you're talking with all the beings. So, to me, paranormal is normal.
Yeah, and that's so strange how this thought process works, but that's how I feel. I tell people all the time, I'm too dumb to know any better to be scared. I have no fear of anything. I really don't. We have not found anything that I'm afraid of yet.
Yeah.
And I think it's, for me, I always use the statement, I think I'm just too dumb to know any better, but I think it's because I've I think I've already experienced so much through so many of my lives that I'm just not surprised by anything. And I'm just realizing that. So,
Yeah.
and it's funny because Jamie says, you make it sound way better than I do. And Joe was saying you would love to come to Hawaii to being in that field.
I love, 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 love Hawaii. I want to go back.
So, okay, well, oh, yeah. I was waiting for this comment to come up. This is Jamie calling out my wife. And the reason why is because my wife sits in another room. She kind of monitors the internet for us and makes sure everything works.
I hear her too.
And I always have to tell people my house is not haunted. That's my wife laughing in the background. And the reason why is because she sees this about 3 seconds later than the rest of us do. And so she always laughs later when everything else is quiet. And because she's just catching up with us. So
see, time travel does exist, people.
Right? I know. And yes, Joe, I totally agree. Go to Japan, got to go to the right places. I'll be blown away. Yes. Yes, I've already been doing some research. I'm only there for a short amount of time, very restricted amount of time for work. So I'm going to get to what I can. So yes.
Oh, Jamie, you know Paul Selig. That's great. I'm going back a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. And then my wife is saying she's kind of quiet right now because she's making jewelry for our niece's birthday. So yes, my wife actually does jewelry. She doesn't sell any or anything else. She just makes it and just gives it away. That's kind of something she's picked up lately. And they're really nice. I will keep this in mind, Joe. I actually will copy and paste that so I know where I'm going. I'll have to keep an eye on those. But it's, I don't know if anyone else is experiencing this with you, but every once in a while I will get a glimpse of your in your camera and you kind of blur a little bit. And it's just very, very subtle, very small. It's it's something that I look at and I'm like, and you're not having to be moving a lot. It's almost like I just see you. It's almost like you're too fast for one movement. Type of thing.
You're tapping into my shapeshifter energy field. That's pretty cool. I had this woman, I used to go to a lot of dance camps and events because I'm a dancer, and I'd walk in the door and she's like, man, every time I see you, you're like a different human. And so I'm just, I have a very strong amount of mercurial celestial energy.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, ever since, even before we started the show, when we were backstage talking and everything, I can see like a little blur movement. It literally looks like, it almost looks like someone who's on the psychedelic medicine or an LSD or something. When you see it, you see the movements that happen. I see that on you. I see what you blur, and I see it on your face. I see it even when you blink, and I see it with your hands when you bring your hands up. So I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that. But I am, so it's kind of cool.
It's multidimensionality, and I'm not afraid of it. And so I let that energy through, and I teach people how to do that because that's how we become. We can still be slow and calm and peaceful, but we become available to many dimensions at once, not just in our heads, but actually energetically, experientially. Yep. It can
thanks, Stuart.
Be a powerful thing. Hi, Stuart. Called Trails, Tom.
It's called Trails. But that's what I'm seeing. I know it's really much like a Matrix move for me right now. And Jamie's saying, no, you look shiny to her. So she's seeing something else.
Yeah.
But it's funny because a couple of times too, I also saw your aura, which is interesting because you have a colored background with a lot of distractions behind you. But normally you have to have a solid background. But yours I was very much able to see. Which is interesting in itself because I only started seeing auras rather recently, but they just like slammed into me and went, hey, look, boom, now you can see auras. And I went, okay, what else you got?
That's wonderful. I'm it's fun to be seen that way. I think that there's been a lot of downloads lately for me. And so you're probably also seeing a lot of action between me and the cosmos.
Yeah, I noticed the automatic messaging I get when I was sending you the messages to your work. And I thought that was really cute that I saw that. So contact you, which goes back into this dimension.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
In a different dimension. Good luck.
Right. Well, I think this is a great place to kind of close the show out for tonight. I'm going to ask you not to leave. I'm just going to put you backstage so I can talk to you afterwards, if you're okay with that. But everybody say goodnight to Astara. Good night, Astara.
Thanks, you guys. It was such a joy being here with you.
So I'm going to put you backstage really quick. And unless anyone has any questions.
I'm here if you do. Of course, you'd have to type pretty fast.
3, 2, 1, half.
No.
Okay, no more questions. All right. So I'm going to put you backstage really quick. I will go ahead and be right with you. Let me close the show down really quick.
Bye.
See ya. All right, everyone. Thank you again for being on the show. That was so much fun. I loved having Astara on. I guarantee as long as she agrees to it and she's okay with it and she can handle my sense of humor and my craziness, that I'm going to have her on again. That's up to her, though. I can't control that. She says we can control some stuff, but I get the feeling I'm not able to control Astara. I'm out of luck on that one. But anyways, appreciate it. Amani, I'm sorry I didn't say hi earlier. I kind of waved at you, let you know I recognized you, but I'm really happy you're here too. And you're not working tonight like you were last week. See, I even know what you were doing. This is how much I pay attention to my audience. But thank you all again for coming on. I do want to mention, in case you have not seen it, that on the 27th of, 2 days from now, the 27th of July, I have on a special guest on a special night. I have on Robbie Thomas. He is a psychic profiler. Let me finish that word out. Psychic profiler. Has been on all kinds of different shows, does all kinds of different investigations worldwide, helping out everybody. Outstanding dude. He's gonna make me look like I'm a puppy because he's just like ripped and just huge and got the nice beard or the goatee and everything else. He's gonna look like who I want to be when I grow up too. But he's gonna be on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, the 27th, on this channel at 7 p.m. So same time, just a different night. So hopefully you all are able to make it. I've posted out advertisements as well as a commercial form, so go out and check those out. They are on Facebook, Twitch, as well as YouTube. In fact, here, let's do this. Here's my stuff, facebook.com, stuff I never learned from the school book. There's my Twitch, twitch.tv, stuff I never learned. My YouTube channel, if you just go out to the YouTube channel and type in stuff I never learned from the school book, instead of trying to type in all those letters and numbers, it's much easier to find me. But go out there, check it out. All of Astara's information is out there. I also put Astara's contact information into the comments. So go back and look at the comments if you need to, so you can find her. Or one more time, there she is, Astara Raven. .love, facebook.com, Astara Raven Love, or innerspaceacademy.love. Those are the places you can find her. And remember, she has a book, How the Stars Tell Time. So go out there, check her out. Come visit me on Wednesday so we can all hang out and talk to Robbie Thomas. Other than that, have a great night. I love you all very, very much, and you know this. And hopefully I will see you on Wednesday. Much love, folks. Keep it all real, and I will see you